That cavity was stuffed with pine straw, very flammable material, even though it's been raining like a son of a gun yesterday all day long. Got some of that split kindling in the top. Gonna let that burn down. Hopefully it'll collect on top of those bricks just below that plate there. Start to build up, you know, a coal base. But this pine here, and I'm cooking on pine, y'all. This is a very low resinous pine. It's super dry, super dead, but it got rained on all day yesterday. All day long, from morning to sunset. And there's the pile that I got it from. I've got actually two. I'm trying to turn the camera around. Wow, that's tight. And there's the second set. And I got a bunch of other pine to sit there and chop up, a lot of trees and stuff to knock down. And got one that's actually in the ditch over there that's really rotten. But, well, there you go. Trying to give you as much detail on this there setup as I possibly can. And, well, there you go. This really works well with dry twigs to get it going. Then put your tinder in there, and then put your longer pieces on the metal plate here to shove in, and that's essentially your rocket stove. Alright, wanted to show you what I'm talking about there. I got most of the wood shoved up in there. Remember, this is designed for longer pieces. Here's my cast iron skillet I got sitting here as a table right now. But longer pieces to shove in as this thing burns. But because this distance from the fire to the top to where the actual stove top is so tall, you don't actually have flames licking out the top unless you have a super hot fire. And we're going to play and adjust with that right there as we go along. So let me get this thing here set up. We got a good coal base in there starting. We're going to fry some chicken. That's right, leg quarters. Hey, I fry a lot of leg quarters. And we're going to do some ranch flavored french fries that was bought from the grocery store. Them things are good, by the way. Now this is not a cooking recipe. This is just a demonstration on the rocket stove itself. It's still going to be tasty, no doubt. So let me get this thing set up. Now that smoke you see right there, there's oil in there, Crisco cooking oil. That smoke is not from the oil. That smoke is from the actual fire itself, coming up from the bottom and surrounding. We tested it with some of our flour. Get some more here. And that's not hot enough. It didn't even sizzle, didn't bubble up yet. Gonna give it a little while longer. So even though this is actually burning like a rocket stove, well, you can't see that with that reflection. Zoom in. Wow, what a reflection. There's the flour floating on top. It's not sizzling. But sorry about that. I thought y'all could see it. This is not actually set up as well as a rocket stove should be set up, but it is the same principle. Longer pieces of wood, stuff that is not wet but dry, but it is burning because it is damp. That's cool. And it's actually a good thing because I don't want to cook on a super hot rocket. I don't want to do that. I'm going to burn everything. So I want a controllable temperature when I'm cooking. And this is kind of kind of a hobo stove, rocket stove hybrid, you may want to say, that actually does cook. If this was actually lower to the flame, you'd have more of a rocket stove effect. Let the car go by. So we're going to add a little more pieces of wood there, keep it fed. Once the temperature of the grease, or oil in this case, gets to proper temperature, which is, I don't know, when the breading in there starts to fry, I know that we're ready. Now, as far as the cooking technique goes here, I'm not trying to educate anybody on the proper way of cooking. Normally, I would have parboiled these leg quarters in some boiling water before I actually floured them and then fried them. And what I mean by that is you put them in water, you parboil them, you're actually cooking the things by boiling water. I take them out, set them aside, let them cool down to room temperature, and then I flour and do my batter technique. And then I place them in some super hot grease. That way it crisps real quick and gets a good golden brown on the outside. And to me, that's just the best way to do fried chicken. Now, another technique here that I'm using is I'm using a wet chicken, in this case leg quarters, that I did not dry off. I put directly into the flour and I let it sit in the bag for at least, I'm gonna say about 30 minutes now. And what that does is it creates an instant batter that actually makes the flour adhere to the chicken. Now, because I don't have a lot of daylight here, I didn't parboil the chicken. Sorry. So I'm going to cook this thing directly, raw chicken that was thawed out just 30 minutes prior under some running water. Threw the flour in there in the bag with my seasonings, directly into the skillet once the oil got hot, or it started to bubble. And I'm actually starting to slow fry this now. I think this is going to cook all the way through. It should be safe to eat, no problems there. But that's why I like to parboil, to make sure, because I like my chicken to taste good. That's just the way I do it. Y'all can agree or disagree. Hey, doesn't matter. Everybody cooks a little bit differently. Let me show you this frying action now.